Hello everyone, this is Heather with Whippoorwill Creations, and I have got a cathedral window completely done by machine. Just need to put a little batting and backing and you have got a cathedral window quilt. This one is done with 3.5 and 6.5 inch squares. And I'm going to do another one with 8.5 and 4.5 inch squares. This one I haven't folded over and sewn it down yet. I just wanted to see if I could make it look good. And I did! You could entirely do this by hand if you wanted to. But I did pretty good with sewing it with a sewing machine. So if you don't like doing hand work, perfect! Okay, let's get started. First, you're going to take an 8.5 inch square. I just used muslin, and I'm using some charm pack pieces, and I just cut them down for the smaller squares. So I'm folding this in half. Okay. And now you're going to take a 4.5 inch square and you're going to lay the raw edges together, two sides. Just like this. Right side is facing up on this one. And now I've got another one and I'm going to do it right sides facing down. And I'm going to do the same thing as far as matching up the raw edges. Get that perfect. Okay, I'm gonna pin it. Sorry, didn't mean to say I hate that. And I'm gonna pin it again, and I'm gonna show you. You've got a little 1/4 inch extra hanging over the edge of the fold part. Okay, and now I'm going to sew this 1/4 inch. Just down the edge, the short edge of the rectangle. And I lost my little ender. So cut that piece off, stick it on there. And now we're going to do the same thing to the other side here. I've got this folded in half. And going to put the right side up, raw edges together. I'm trying to peek around the camera. I have a hard time looking at it through the lens of the camera. Now this one is face down, raw edges together. Gonna pin that. Oop. And then make sure that these are aligned on this end. And we've got that 1/4 inch gap again, which makes it perfect. Get that up a little bit. And we're going to sew this on the short end. We got that like that. And then this will be the same way on the other end. I can tell you, I came up with this idea when I was making a bow tie block where you fold the fabric and you have these little well, I'll show you in a second. But you end up having folds on the top of the quilt of the bow tie block. Love these nippers. They're from Japan. My daughter and her husband, when they went to Japan for their honeymoon, they picked these up for me from a family that used to make samurai swords 700 years ago. And they're still in the knife making business. They make chicken. They make kitchen cutlery and sewing accessories. Love them. Okay, back to work. So now I've got this fold. I've got these two little flaps here. And I've got a pocket. Woohoo! So now I'm going to lay these out like this, and I'm going to bring these two seams together. So I've got this little pocket going on. Pocket. And then I'm going to put these together like this. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to pin it. Then I'm going to pin this down here. And you're going to see that it's going to have another 1/4 inch. Just like that. Another pin. Now the other end. Match that all up. And pin again. Anyways, so I puzzled this out. And I played with it with the 6.5 and 3.5, and it was like, oh, miracle, it worked. So I sent a picture of it to a quilting friend of mine, and she says, oh, is that the 10-minute block? And I said, 10-minute block? Never heard of a 10-minute block. So I Googled it, and sure enough, the idea is the same. She took 10-inch squares. So these 3 same seams, and she had a cathedral window, basically. So I spent all that time thinking about it and working on it, only to find out someone else had already come up with the idea. But these are different sizes. I'm using 2 different size squares. You see that? Is that not the coolest thing? And now I should have cut this down. Oops, wrong side. I'm going to press this here real quick, and I'll show you what I did after I get it pressed. But you're going to press it so that, hi kitty, you've got the seams going in 4 different directions, and I'll show you that in a second. And then the center looks like a, kind of like a little plus sign, I guess. It lays nice and flat when you're done. I'm just pulling out that center seam there. So here it is pressed. You could just do muslin to make it look authentic, like I did for the first one. And then just use the colors. Sorry, I keep bumping the drawer where my camera's hooked. And here's the back side. They all go in like a backwards pinwheel, counterclockwise. And then here's that little center where it's nice and flat. But anyways, you would cut this down to a 4.5 inch square. And then, well, you could just use it as a 5 if you wanted to, if you don't want to cut it. And then you've got your fold over and another fold over. And this is where you could hand stitch it down if you wanted to. When you're doing hand stitching on the sewing machine, I folded it over so that it was overlapping. I don't know if you can see that or not. Here, you can see it here. I overlapped it. But if you're doing it by hand, you want it to look extremely neat and precise. So what you would do is you would just bring those two edges together. Really neat. And then you would do what I call a ladder stitch, but it would be invisible. You would just connect inside those two folds and then just continue on with an applique stitch. If you're right-handed, you would work left, and if you're left-handed, you would come in from this direction and go right, and then you would just go all the way around. So there you have it. A faux cathedral window. You could do a table runner or a quilt, but I just saved you hundreds and hundreds of hours. That's why I never would do a cathedral window, because it's crazy. It's so crazy trying to do all of that folding. If you've ever watched any YouTube videos, well, I already knew how to make one, but it was like, no way, I'm not going to do that. I don't even like sewing by hand. So anyways, here you go. You got different colored fabrics. If you've got a charm pack you want to use up, baby quilt or table runner, whatever you want. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to hit subscribe so you can catch and click on that little bell so you can be sure to get any updates when I create a new video. And you can find me on Facebook too, Whippoorwill Creations. And I look forward to seeing you. Until then, happy sewing!